Hello and welcome to the old Fliers. It was announced in February 2024 that World War II Australian bomber pilot Doug Arrowsmith died peacefully aged 101. In 2017, he was interviewed for the Town of Cambridge Oral History Project, and we have been able to access some of that recording. Doug had been born in 1922, moving to West Australia in 1939 as a 17-year-old seeking work, taking up a job with the Bank of New South Wales. At the outbreak of World War II, many bank employees resigned to join the military. When Doug tried to resign, the bank refused to let him go. However, he was conscripted for 3 months national service in September 1941. He realised that he didn't like being a soldier in the army. Sleeping on straw-filled palliasses wasn't for him. He applied to join the Royal Australian Air Force, and it was 10 months before an opening in a training unit became available. His initial training was at Victor Harbour in South Australia, where theory, Morse code and aircraft identification were taught. Then to Parafield to be introduced to flying on the Tiger Moth. From there to Geraldton for 2 months to train on the docile twin-engined Anson. He left Australia by ship from Melbourne to New Zealand to collect more men, then to San Francisco, Rhode Island and on to the UK on the Aquitania ship. In the UK, he was posted to an operational training unit at Fraserburgh in Scotland to fly Oxfords. That first day, he and his mates were ordered to be pallbearers for 2 pilots killed the day before. The next posting was to Lichfield in the Midlands to transition to the heavy bomber Wellington, then on to 4-engine Halifaxes. The better pilots graduated with a week to master the Lancaster bomber. Doug was posted to the Royal Air Force 460 Lancaster Squadron, led by the future West Australian Governor, Group Captain Huey Edwards, VC, in October 1944. He was given Lancaster, S for sugar, by previous pilot Tim Anderson. Here is Doug talking about that.
This chap, Tim Anderson, he was the flight commander. Soon after that, he finished his tour of duties, which was 30 operations, and he said, "Doug, this aircraft's yours now, S for sugar," and it became S for sugar, S for snifter. So I took over his aircraft, and it was above average aircraft. Some aircraft, it's like motor cars, some are better than the others, and this was, he picked this one out himself because he flew it virtually from the factory to the squadron, and he said, "Oh, that's my aircraft." So he flew it about 15 times, I suppose, and then so I was a favourite, and anyway, I took over his for sugar.
Doug and his crew were lucky. Just 24% of air crew survived the war unharmed. Doug describes how he felt on his first mission over Germany.
Well, the first one was quite, we didn't know what to expect, but then we're heading towards the target, and all we could see ahead of us was searchlights going all around the sky and lights on the ground. And then as we got closer, in the actual target area, there was these puffs in the air, you know, and so you realised that was the flak bursting, you know, from the guns from the Germans, and they were bursting in the air around in the sky, and the searchlights was searching around, and of course there's the noise of the aircraft, and as soon as the bombs had gone, of course you wanted to get out of the area as quick as you could, but you had to fly 15 seconds straight after the bombs had gone to enable the camera to take a photo of where your bombs would have gone to land. and from that, all the photographs that the people, the backroom boys got, they would know what damage had been done or whether the raid was successful or not. But during that 15 seconds of flying, because you couldn't, it had to be actually straight and level and at that constant speed for the camera to give an accurate reading where the bombs were. And that was the frightening part, that you didn't want to do anything. You wanted to do something different. You wanted to get on the turn and speed away if you could, but you had to wait for the 15 seconds.
Doug flew 35 missions over Germany in his S for Sugar Lancaster bomber. He described his Lancaster as above average and used this advantage to avoid night fighters.
I used to take the aircraft up to about 500 feet above our allotted time for the height for the target. So if we were allocated to drop it to bomb at 19,500 feet, sometime before I'd got up to 20,000 feet, and then gradually just take a little bit of throttle back, and the aircraft was so good it would hardly lose any height, but gradually over quite a distance it'd lose that 500 feet. And one of the reasons why I could do that, one of the result was that the engine would have some flame or some sparks or something that would identify the aircraft to the fighters, so that by having less throttle, you had less evidence of the aircraft to the fighters. So there was that one advantage in that. So anything to do to try and make it a bit more safer for yourself.
At first, I thought his Lancaster was the famous S for Sugar that is now on display at RAF Museum Hendon. That Lancaster had flown 125 missions over Germany, the most missions of any Lancaster to survive active service. His S for Sugar didn't survive the war. In January 1945, the weather was absolutely shocking. Fog one day, then rain and mist and snow the next. A mission to fly to Stuttgart was scheduled. Full of flu, Doug was unfit to fly, and a crew headed by West Australian Peter Bert flew that plane instead. Here is Doug talking about that fateful decision.
But on this particular case, it was January of 45, and the weather was absolutely shocking. Right through the January, there would be fog, and then and then snow and mist, and it went on for day after day. A couple of times we were due to go to a briefing, and then we cancelled. This went on day after day. Then we were down to go to Stuttgart, and we got to briefing, and I was sick. I'm not going to report sick at the MO. I'll get over this, and I thought I'd be cancelled anyway. So I said I reported sick, and the MO said, medical officer said, you can't fly. So they took whole of my crew off, replaced by the emergency crew, and they took his for sugar. They didn't come back. And there was West Australia Peter Bert, who was a mate of mine through Geraldton.
Doug was among 32 RWF veterans in the official mission party to travel to London in 2012 to see Queen Elizabeth unveil a Bomber Command memorial. You will recall that Bomber Harris and Bomber Command were not treated well after World War II. No Bomber Command medal for those involved. The unnecessary raid on Dresden when the war was all but won, still a dark memory. The Battle of Britain boys were lauded as heroes. Bomber Command boys thought of as mass murderers. Air Marshal Arthur Harris was driving at speed between his High Wycombe headquarters and the air ministry during World War II when he was stopped by a motorcycle policeman. "You might have killed someone," said the indignant policeman. Said Harris, "Young man, I kill thousands of people every night." It is estimated that indeed his bomber command killed 600,000, mainly civilians, during World War II. Doug wrote a book, A Skipper's Tale, about his wartime experiences. Men such as Doug Arrowsmith remind us of the personal sacrifice that was demanded when Australia went to war in 1939. Thank you for watching. Liking and subscribing encourages new content.